fear-based.
Yeah. Yeah. So much is fear-based.
Okay, so we've got respect, embrace, ask, and then
Live without limits. And this really kind of sums it all up, right? I mean, we limit ourselves from the second we wake up until the second we go to bed, right? We say that we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough. What if you changed those statements, right? For a long time, I would say, I was just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just Rob's wife. I'm just a volunteer, basically justifying my existence with that word. Drop the just. You're not just anything. You're not just anyone. You are you. You are unique. You cannot be anybody else, and you're not just anything. So that to me is huge. And so I have a little mindset hack that I like to use that really because we're all going to have that voice in our head, right? We're all going to have those moments where we question, am I enough? Am I doing this right? And it's called Control Alt Delete. So back in the day, that's how we would reset a frozen computer. And now it pulls up like Task Manager or something. I don't even know what Task Manager means, but Control Alt Delete for your brain. So control is about awareness, right? Notice the thought that's running your day. Is it true? Is it real? Most of the time it's not, right? You have that thought that comes in that says, "Oh, I'm not ready for this. This is I'm not good enough for this." I mean, it's not real, right? It's the story that we're telling ourselves. Alt is about alternative. Tell yourself a better story. So instead of I can't, I can. Or what if I fail? How about when I succeed? And finally, delete. Delete the habits and beliefs that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the apology. Delete the belief that you are not enough because it's not true. And so every time I have a thought that comes in, I catch it, right? I start with that. I catch it and say, is that real? No, it's not real. Okay. Tell yourself a better story. I call it the voice inside my head is the what if whisperer. So likes to whisper that you're not good enough, or what if this happens? What if you fail? And I've actually now named her. Her name is Sally Fine. Fine stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And so that's a good way for me to make humor out, to make light of it when I start having those negative thoughts and say, okay, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this to myself?
So welcome back to another exclusive episode on the Passionate Pioneer podcast with my special guest today, Simone Knego. Hi, Simone.
Hi. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, you're so welcome. You know me, I'm Beth. I'm the Passionate Pioneer, your spiritual awakening and joy specialist, and the leader of the Passionista global movement. And my guest today is the definition of a passionate pioneer. She is an international speaker, an award-winning author, and an empowerment coach who has helped thousands of women silence their inner critic and step into purpose-driven lives. She's the co-host of the globally ranked podcast, Her Unshakable Confidence, and the mastermind behind the powerful Real Method, a framework designed to help you break free from self-sabotage and build truly authentic confidence. She's also the champion of the kitchen table leadership philosophy, reminding us that real impact is made in our everyday choices. So let's jump into Simone's story.
Yeah, I'm like, where do we start?
Where do we? At the beginning, right? Let's start right at the beginning. So your work is obviously deeply centered on women ditching the self-doubt and sabotage and discovering joy and confidence. So how did you first discover your personal joy was inherently tied to helping other women overcome their limitations?
Well, I'll start with that. I have 6 children. So, that right there, there's a lot that happens of self-doubt and self-sabotage. But I was someone that struggled for a very long time. I had an abusive boyfriend when I was in high school. And when I look back, I realized that was kind of the beginning of my journey with never feeling like I was enough. I had a moment in 2015, and it was a big moment. I was asked to do something completely out of my comfort zone, and that was to climb a mountain. And I said yes, and I did it, and I accomplished it. And I realized that I don't need to worry about what anybody else thinks. I need to take care of myself. I need to believe in myself. I need to respect myself. And when I looked back, that was how I created the real method, how I got from someone who doubted everything to then saying, you know what, I am confident, I am living my best life, I am passionate about my life. And so that was my goal then, to help other women figure that out as well and not take as long to get there as I did.
Right. Yeah, it was Kilimanjaro, wasn't it?
Yes, Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro. You see, I've never been, it's never appealed to me to climb a mountain. I mean, I climb mountains all the time in my business. Like
Yes.
everybody else, we climb mountains
Hmm.
in our professional and personal lives. But to actually do it in reality, to climb the Kilimanjaro was to be what made you decide you wanted to do that? What was the
Mm.
push?
Yeah, it was definitely not a bucket list item. It was something that a friend of ours had climbed it the previous year, raising money for an organization called the Livestrong Foundation. And they were looking for a team. And they called my husband and said, would you be interested? And he said, no, thank you. Call Simone. And so they called me, and I thought, you know what? I need this right now. I need something to really challenge myself. Did I really need a mountain? Probably not, but I needed to get out of my comfort zone. And I knew that because I was really struggling. And that mountain really did change everything. I get asked the question a lot, well, why did you say yes? Because I'm not a mountain climber. I live at sea level. I have 16 steps in my house. And I think it's twofold. It's one of the things was getting out of my comfort zone. The other thing was that I had been the yes girl for a very long time, where I always felt that if I said no to something, I would be disappointing somebody. And, but this was more about the challenge, more about really seeing what I was capable of. And that's exactly what it did for me.
Well, it's a big thing to say yes to, isn't it? Because there's a lot of, I imagine, preparation when you want to climb a mountain. You have to do some preparation. You have to have the right gear, um, and I'm sure that because of the altitude, you have to do a lot of pre-preparation, right?
Yeah.
Um, but
It,
what a how powerful that must have been, empowering to climb it and to get to the top.
yeah, it was definitely and the preparation part, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into because I had never climbed anything before. Uh, I didn't own a sleeping bag. You have to have like a special sleeping bag. And I was like, I live in Florida. I'm never going to use this again. So let me see if someone has one I can borrow. And I did. I borrowed one from a friend and I trained every day for 6 months, got myself in really good shape. I think the biggest change for me, though, was getting my mind in shape so that when, I had people ask me, do you really think you're going to make it to the top? No, I think I'm going to make it halfway. That's why I'm doing this. So it was really about realizing that I was stronger than I ever thought I was.
Maybe that is the start of you becoming the expert on unshakable
Mhm.
confidence,
Yeah. I mean,
right?
I really think that that moment, that really understanding what I needed to move forward and not worrying about what anybody else thought. I mean, I also had people after I came back say, "Well, don't you think that was selfish to go climb a mountain, leave your 6 kids at home, right? Oh, your husband is so special. The fact that he would take care of your kids for that long while you were gone." I was like, "Wait, hold on. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, self-care is never selfish. Second of all, yes, my husband is amazing, right? I've been married to him for 32 years. I wouldn't have stayed if he wasn't amazing. But these are his kids too, right? And so that
Right?
idea that it's so special for him to take care of his own kids, it's like shocking to me. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that is shocking, isn't it? That was one of the statements that
Yeah.
you heard,
Oh,
because
he's
it's
such a good man.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's dual parenting, I hope so. I mean, I don't think it's still in society's consciousness, but hopefully we're getting over the fact that the woman is just taking care of everything, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think there's still a lot of that going on. So,
Yeah, I think we're starting to move in the right
yes,
direction.
yes.
And that's a perfect example of that, right? But there's nothing wrong with that, stay at home dad, or, you go and run the business and, the husband stays at home. I think that's a great way to turn the tables what we've been taught and
Yeah,
inherently know, right?
absolutely.
So tell me about the kitchen table leadership and what does this philosophy mean? Um, what's that all about, the kitchen table leadership? Tell us.
Yeah. So, you know, growing up, I always thought leadership was about the title, the boardroom, the corner office, and that's kind of the version so many of us have been sold that's what leadership is. You need the title to be a leader. And I believe that leadership is what happens every single day. The behind the scenes, the messy moments, right? The things when no one's watching. And a lot of those decisions start or happen around the kitchen table. And that's why I went back to kitchen table. But, we don't give ourselves credit for the things that we're doing. And nobody's ever called it leadership. So we've never thought, oh, that's leadership, right? That's me. I'm a leader. We thought, oh no, that's for somebody else. I was actually on vacation with my husband and we were sitting around the pool and we were sitting next to this couple. And of course, we started talking about what we do. And I started asking the guy what he thought about leadership. And he said, oh, that's not for me. And I thought that was so interesting. Like that was his initial response. Well, leadership, that's not for me. I'm not a leader in my company. I said, do you make decisions? Well, yeah, I make decisions every day. I said, that's leadership. And, just because it doesn't have the title doesn't mean that it's not a leadership decision.
Interesting. That's a very interesting take on it, isn't it? That we do make decisions. We're making decisions every moment of our life,
Right. And
really.
if you didn't make those decisions, things could happen that wouldn't go in the right direction, right? So they are really leadership decisions. Just again, we've never called it that. And think about it. If you have your own business or if you are working in a business but you don't have a title and you're showing up to work now thinking that you're a leader instead of waiting for someone else to do it or someone else to tell you that you're a leader, you're going to show up very differently, right? If you believe that you're a leader when you're walking in that door, you're going to do things differently than if you said, oh, no, that's not for me.
Do you think this kitchen table leadership or the philosophy of leadership is very unbalanced and the fact that we still tend to have more male leadership than female leadership?
Oh, completely. Yes. I mean, so if we thought about it differently, maybe it wouldn't be as unbalanced. But in terms of what actually happens in a business, for sure. I mean, it's definitely skewed way towards men. And what was really interesting is that I found a statistic that said that even middle managers don't consider themselves leadership. I mean, they have a title, it's middle manager, but they don't consider themselves leaders because they're caught between, the customers and who they truly believe are the leaders, which are the executives of the company. So again, I think the mindset has to shift on what leadership means.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. But there are more and more, I see, I'm sure you see as well, women stepping
Mm,
into those roles finally and being recognized.
yes. I have a good friend who is a partner at a big accounting firm. And we actually went to school together. I went to school for accounting. I have a bachelor's and master's. I was a CPA. I didn't love it, so I wasn't doing it. She loved it, and she is super successful in her job. And we were talking about recently how when she first started, what quote unquote the requirements were. So women had to wear a suit with a skirt and pantyhose and heels. And you could not wear pants if you worked in this kind of firm. That the pants were for the men, right? The women couldn't wear pants. And I'm thinking, that is crazy. I mean, we're 53. Both of us are 53. So it's not been that long that, right out of college, she had to wear skirts for everything because that was what was required.
Well, exactly. I mean, this is, I mean, we talk about, women in midlife, 40s, 50s. And, years ago, 40s and 50s, you were really put out to pasture, right? I mean,
Yes.
Literally, if you did have some sort of career, but you really didn't. Most women didn't. They were stay-at-home mums or they had a part-time job, and they didn't really. There were few and far between career women because we were put into a box and we were told that wasn't for us, or you're not smart enough, you're not clever enough, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too beautiful, you're too whatever it was, right? We're
Hmm.
just in a box, right?
Hmm.
And and slowly over time we start to believe that, and we we've lost our confidence. So how you gave a perfect example of this friend of yours in as a partner now in the business. Um, how did she manage to do that? How did she manage to find her confidence? And what do you think is the biggest misconception women have in midlife about finding confidence?
Mm. She struggled for a very long time. She there were so many times where she was up for, they would match them with a client, and the client would say, "No, I don't want to work with her. I want to work with a man." And she's like, "It's unbelievable to me. Like, I am more qualified, but they want to work with the man." And she just couldn't let it get to her, right? I mean, there was obviously, did she doubt? Yes. Did she have imposter syndrome? Yes. But she just kept moving forward. And the thing is, it's about taking the action, even when you don't feel like you're ready, even when you are afraid of what's going to happen. You keep moving forward, and that's exactly what she did. And I would say as well, and I'm going to tie it back to the second part of the question. So my mom actually went to she went to college in 1957. She was born in rural Pennsylvania. Her mom had a sixth grade education. Her dad worked in the coal mines, and she was taught that when she would grow up, she would do the same as her mother. She would cook, clean, and sew. And in 10th grade, she walked into a library. She had no idea something like this existed. She thought it was a church, and that completely changed her world. And so she went to college in 1957, and then in 1961, she went to University of Pittsburgh Medical School. She was one of 5 women in the class. There were 120 people in the class, and she had to constantly fight for her voice to be heard. She actually told me that the other day, she's 86 years old now. She told me the other day that when she was in medical school, so many of the men said it's not right for her to be here, that she took up a man's space, and that's who deserves to be here. Can you imagine? I was like, Mom, why didn't you tell me that a long time ago? But woo,
Terrible.
oh, it's so terrible. But going back to the confidence piece, I think a lot of times we think confidence is something everybody else has and we just don't, right? And and that's the misconception, is that you're born with it, or oh, that person is so confident. Confidence is a skill. You build it like any other skill. It takes time. It's not like overnight you flip a switch and say, "Oh, I'm so confident." No, it's by respecting yourself, and this is my whole real method. Respecting yourself, embracing your failures, asking yourself what you want, and living without limits.
That's
So that's the
exactly what
segue.
I was going to ask you next. So this goes
Yeah.
directly segues into the real method, which is
Yes.
respect, embrace, ask, and live. So, can you talk us through that? What's that framework first?
Yeah. So again, that came out of my kind of progression from really doubting everything I did to saying, "Oh, wow, this is what I'm capable of if I set the goal and put in the work." And so I started with respect because for me that's the most important thing. I remember as a child being taught to respect my elders, my peers, but never once do I remember being taught that the most important person to respect was myself, right? We talk a lot about demanding respect. Like I'm going in that meeting, I'm going to demand respect. Okay, what really needs to happen is that we need to demonstrate it to ourselves. So if people see that we respect ourselves, that we're not criticizing ourselves constantly, that we set boundaries, that we self-care when we do these things, then people understand how we're willing to be treated. But if we go in and we're not respecting ourselves, how can we demand it from someone else if we don't respect ourselves? So that's the first piece, which I think is so important. Then the second piece, embrace your failures. So many of us look at failure as a stop sign. Like that's the end. I can't move forward. This is way too stressful. And for me, it's a learning experience, right? I mean, if you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not failing, you're not growing. And I have failed at many things in my life. I would say most days I fail at something. But it's important because that means you're doing things instead of staying stagnant and not doing anything. I'll stop there before because I could talk for like an hour.
That's great. No, I think that
Okay.
is fantastic that, that we don't realize that people are afraid of failure. We're afraid of failure, aren't we? Well,
Yeah.
but failure is the one thing that you've got to say, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me try something different, or let me try that in a different way, right?
So, yeah, it's so true. But we're so worried about what everybody else thinks. And oh my gosh, are they going to judge me because I started this business and it went under in the first year? Why do we care what anybody else thinks, right? And
Well, that's the self-respect piece, isn't it?
yes,
Again,
I was just about to say that goes back to
right?
the self-respect piece of not
Yeah.
worrying about that because
Yeah.
that isn't how we should live our lives. Like we're all beautiful, unique human beings and we need to treat ourselves like that. Like you wouldn't look at your best friend and say, "Oh my gosh, you are such a failure." No, you wouldn't. But you would say it to yourself,
I
right?
know that
Yeah.
blows my mind, right? I say the
Right.
same thing, Simone. It's you wouldn't say that to somebody else that you love, or your
Mm,
best friend, your family. You wouldn't say that. But we say it to ourselves all the time, right?
yeah.
It's crazy, and you're absolutely right. We're taught to have respect for our elders and respect everybody else, but it starts with us.
Hmm.
So that's a really, really great observation. Self-respect.
Yeah.
So you've got respect and embrace, and then you've got ask. What's that about?
Ask yourself what you want. So often we, especially as women, we go through our lives and we're doing everything for everybody else and we lose ourselves along the way, right? How many women sit there and say, is this what I really want? Am I really living my life to the fullest? Am I enjoying parts of my day? Or is it all work and hustle and I'm miserable? But so often we don't do that because we're taking care of other people, right? That's our job as a woman is to take care of the other people. And right, I like how you laugh on that one. But but that's kind of the impression and that's what we've been taught and that's what we do. I was actually at an event yesterday and it was supposed to be an evening event and they changed it to the morning. And one of the women said to me, "Oh, this is so much better because my husband wouldn't have liked it if I wasn't home in the evening, because then dinner would be off or whatever." And I was like, "What? What year is this?" Right? I was like, "Okay," but that idea of really saying, "What do I want?" and thinking back to, especially when we get older, like think back to the kid who wanted to be the actor, the astronaut, the rock star, whatever it was, like that person still exists. Because you've lived a life doesn't mean there isn't opportunity to do other things, right? I mean, I have a lot of friends that I'll be an empty nester in 1 year. That's the last of my 6 kids graduates this year from high school. And a lot of my friends are empty nesters and they're like, I don't know what to do with my life, right? don't I don't have a purpose. And it's like we have to start being able to do stuff for ourselves and realizing there's so many amazing things out there, but we've never allowed ourselves to ask that question before.
That's the ticket, isn't it? We've never
Yeah.
allowed ourselves. You've got to give yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's okay for me to ask, what do I want?
Yeah.
What,
It's
what
not
do I-
selfish.
No, uh, not in my opinion. But
No.
I have, I have lived my life for me, Simone, and I think that, sometimes I guess I've been called selfish, but I'm not here to live my life by other people's shoulds or woulds or coulds or you can't do that or you shouldn't do that or what if. I've just said I'm going to go and do it.
Mm.
And, but but I have been called selfish
Yeah.
because I didn't do what they wanted me to do. I did what I wanted to do.
I think often people that struggle, they look at other people and that are doing things and say, well, I could never do that, so why should they be able to? So I'm going to basically tell them that, they shouldn't do it, right? I mean, the idea of someone saying to me, "Oh, do you really think you're going to make it to the top?" Thank you. No, right? So like that, but what I've realized is a lot of times it's because they can't see it in themselves, so therefore they can't see it in you. Like, why would you be able to do that if they can't see themselves doing that?
Right. But that's exactly why I say don't take advice from somebody who hasn't been there, done it
Yeah,
themselves,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
Because they're
very
just
true.
afraid that, you're going to overtake them
Hmm.
and move away from them. It's all come down to fear, doesn't it? It's all fear based.
Yeah, yeah. So much is fear based.
Okay, so we've got respect, embrace, ask, and then
Live without limits. And this really kind of sums it all up, right? I mean, we limit ourselves from the second we wake up until the second we go to bed, right? We say that we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough. What if you changed those statements, right? For a long time, I would say, I was just a stay-at-home mom. I'm just Rob's wife. I'm just a volunteer, basically justifying my existence with that word. Drop the just. You're not just anything, you're not just anyone. You are you. You are unique. You cannot be anybody else, and you're not just anything. So that to me is huge. And so I have a little mindset hack that I like to use that really because we're all going to have that voice in our head, right? We're all going to have those moments where we question, am I enough? Am I doing this right? And it's called Control Alt Delete. So back in the day, that's how we would reset a frozen computer. And now it pulls up like Task Manager or something. I don't even know what Task Manager means, but Control Alt Delete for your brain. So control is about awareness, right? Notice the thought that's running your day. Is it true? Is it real? Most of the time it's not, right? You have that thought that comes in that says, "Oh, I'm not ready for this. This is I'm not good enough for this." I mean, it's not real, right? It's the story that we're telling ourselves. Alt is about alternative. Tell yourself a better story. So instead of I can't, I can. Or what if I fail? How about when I succeed? And finally, delete. Delete the habits and beliefs that don't serve you. Delete the comparison game. Delete the apology. Delete the belief that you are not enough because it's not true. And so every time I have a thought that comes in, I catch it, right? I start with that. I catch it and say, is that real? No, it's not real. Okay. Tell yourself a better story. I call it the voice inside my head is the what if whisperer. So likes to whisper that you're not good enough, or what if this happens? What if you fail? And I've actually now named her. Her name is Sally Fine. Fine stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And so that's a good way for me to make humor, to make light of it when I start having those negative thoughts and say, okay, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this to myself?
absolutely. Yeah, well, you're right, aren't you? You're right if you say I can, and you're right if you say I can't. I mean, that's just you're right either way. So why not choose the positive? And once you start learning that, Simone, it is right, isn't it? You start catching yourself.
Mm,
It's like a muscle that you develop.
yeah,
And once you start, listening to yourself and you're like, oh, did I just say that? Or did I just think that? Okay, let's reframe it.
yeah, yeah.
So, in your opinion, what's the most challenging of these four steps for women to master? What happens when they get it right?
Mm. I really think the hardest is the asking yourself what you want. I think the most important is the self-respect. I think the hardest is asking yourself what you want. Again, because I think that we are not programmed to do that. And I remember when I came back from Kilimanjaro and I was talking to some women about it, and they said, "Oh, I could never do that. I could." Well, okay. First of all, why? And second of all, let's change the way you say it. Do you want to? Oh, no, I would never want to do that. I said, okay, well, that's the story you tell yourself then. It's not that you can't do it, it's that you don't want to. And if you don't want to, it doesn't affect your brain. But if you tell yourself that even if you're saying it lightly, I could never do that, that's what you start to believe. I mean, your thoughts become your reality.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Your thoughts become your reality. If you say you can, you say you can't.
Yeah.
So yes, it's all about reframing. And it is, we talk about health and well-being. And it's all the same. It's what you eat, it's what you do, but it's also the words that you say.
Hmm.
Words are very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I focus on is the way that I talk to myself, the way I talk about myself. I think we also don't understand when it comes to the self-respect piece and when we are talking negatively to ourselves or about ourselves, how much it impacts the people around us. So I had a big aha moment. My daughter, so I have a podcast with my 22-year-old daughter called Her Unshakable Confidence, which is a blast. But when she was 15 years old, she walked into the bathroom. I was getting ready for an event. I had gained weight. I wasn't fitting into my clothes, and I was being mean to myself. Can't believe you gained weight again. What's wrong with you? Like all these other women there are going to be so beautiful, and you can't even fit in clothes. And she walked in and she said, first of all, you're beautiful. Second of all, you have to stop. She goes, you are giving me a complex. How do you expect me to love my body when you don't even like your own? And it was such an aha moment for me because I probably didn't even realize how negative I was talking to myself because it was just on autopilot. But to hear how much it was affecting her, that like, if you don't like what you look like, why should I like what I look like? And that really made me take a step back and say, wow, the words are so powerful. And it's not only for me, but it's for the people around me. And again, that self-respect piece, when
Yeah.
you're talking negative about yourself, you're not respecting yourself, right? Like we have one body, let's take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's right. I think the self-respect piece is the first one, and then the ask is I think it is difficult for people in midlife, actually for women of all ages. If you ask them, what do you want? What do you love? Where's the joy? What do you love to do? What do you want with your life? Most women can't answer.
Mm,
It's really strange that they just can't. It's just because we listen to so many other people and so many other voices that tell us, we've forgotten how to trust ourselves.
yeah.
So, you know, so your work is connected to overcoming self-doubt, and it's the asking yourself. So, what role does following your intuition play in this role of asking and
Yeah. Yeah. I think following your intuition is very important. I think often we don't do that, right? And we get ourselves in situations where we're like, oh gosh, like I had a feeling that was going to happen. Why didn't I listen to that feeling? Right? I think it's really important to focus on what our body is telling us, what our mind is telling us, right? And not and understand that. Now, problem is sometimes we are so rooted in those negative beliefs that it's hard to use our intuition because we're thinking everything bad is going to happen, right? So it's a combination, but understanding that when something presents itself, it's like take the risk. Do it anyways. Do it scared because you know deep down you actually want it, but you haven't given yourself permission to take a chance like that.
hi, I just wanted to pop on here just to say thank you so much for being here, watching this video and supporting my channel. It is my honor to bring you these stories from these incredible women who are passionate about their lives and have alchemized their spiritual awakening journeys from service to self to service to others. If you would like to be part of my Passionista community, just grab a free copy of my workbook, which you'll find a link below. It's called Your Passionista Journey Starts Here. And start making those small changes to your life that you need right now. Thank you again for being here. Love you to subscribe and hit the notification button so that you know when all the new weekly episodes are live. Thanks again, Passionista. Much love and joy. Now let's get back to the interview. Well, once you start listening to yourself, tell me what you think, Simone. But once you start really listening to yourself and tuning into your own body and silencing everybody
Mm.
else, you can really, after a while, you really figure it out. You know what feels real for you. You know what, okay, it's a scare. I'm scared. That's normal. But do you want to do it? Do you want to try it? Are you excited about it? Yes, I'm excited about it. Well, then do it. Take the risk and do it.
Hmm.
Is that your
Yeah,
your take?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Why wouldn't we, right? And why is it meant for somebody else? Right? When we look at opportunities that are out there, it's not meant for somebody else. It's meant for us too. It's meant for anybody who wants to do it. But we have to be willing to take that risk and inside and say, yes, I can do this. Yes, I want this instead of waiting for someone else to tell you. I There was a movie I watched. It's an older movie, but it's a movie with Julia Roberts called Runaway Bride. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah.
So in the movie, every guy that she was with, obviously, it's called Runaway Bride because she would always leave at the last second. But one of the things that was really interesting was that she whatever guy she was with is that's how she would eat her eggs. So if the guy ate hard-boiled eggs, she would eat hard-boiled eggs. If the guy ate fried eggs, she'd eat fried eggs. And one of the things at the end of the movie was that her making all kinds of eggs to see what she actually liked, right? I think so often, and I thought it was such a good uh, piece of symbolism for how we live our lives, right? We do what other people are doing instead of doing what we actually deep down want. And it is that intuition that will tell us, okay, this is not for you. I've read a study too that said that when women go out for lunch, let's say there's four women at the table. If three women at the table order salads, even if the other person wants fried chicken, she will not order the fried chicken. She will order the salad because that's what everybody else is doing. And it's so crazy to me. Like, order the chicken wings, get the blue cheese, whatever. But we're so worried about what everybody else will think.
We are, right. We're so worried about what everybody else thinks, and also, the as I said, the shoulds,
Mm.
would, should, could. You can't do this, you can do that. Um, so do you find that many women are confident in one area of the real method, and not in others, or do you think it's just a combination of all of them?
I usually find it's a combination of all of them because obviously if you're not respecting yourself, then that affects everything, right? Or if you're so worried about failures, then you stop respecting yourself. So I really think it's a combination of all of them. And I think the biggest thing is that women need to understand that confidence is a skill that you build and you work on it and you don't think it's for somebody else and that, oh, I'll never be confident. Yes, yes. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what body type you have. None of that matters, right? Doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. It matters how you feel about yourself. It matters how you treat yourself, and that's how you build confidence.
So you wrote a book, didn't you? The Extraordinary Unordinary You.
Yes, I actually have written two books. My second book comes out in February, which is very exciting. So
Oh,
the first book, The Extraordinary Unordinary You, is all about realizing what you're capable of and recognizing that the little things you do every day matter. So stories about, well, it's really about believing yourself, but so we adopted our youngest three children. So there are adoption stories and climbing Kilimanjaro. There's a lot in there that is self-help, but gentle self-help. My second book is called Real Confidence, a simple guide to go from unsure to unshakable. And that is all based on my real method and a lot of frameworks and exercises. And I mean, a lot of very personal stories that kind of help show the transformation that I went through and how other women can do it as well.
hmm. So the first book then is obviously stories in a personal help book, personal
Mhm.
self development. Yes. Um, What's the unordinary gift that every woman possesses that she
Mm,
doesn't see?
that she's amazing as she is, right? We're so worried about changing who we are. We don't need to change who we are. We need to change the way we see ourselves, right? When you really start looking in the mirror and appreciating what you see instead of trying to change everything you see, then you live a much happier life. I know that for sure. I mean, I've experienced it. Instead of criticizing everything, you're never going to look in the mirror and love everything you see. That's just not how life works, right?
I don't
But
know what you mean. I look every day and I'm like, I'm beautiful now. I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
But I don't pick on myself anymore, right? I'm I don't worry about what anybody else thinks because I feel good about myself. If I'm gonna go out to the store with my hair up in a ponytail and no makeup on, I don't care, right? And I am I if I'm gonna put on makeup, then okay, I do it because I want to do it. It's not because anybody has asked that of me or tells me that I need to. That I don't even think about anymore. But I used to. I used to worry that I have to be dressed the same and really make sure that I was as made up as everyone else. And I don't care about any of that, right? Because I I understand my value now instead of getting my value from that external validation, right? I don't need someone to give me a compliment, but when I get one now, I can accept it. For years, I would get compliments about things and I'd be like, hmm. Yeah, no, I don't really look good in that color. I couldn't say the two words. I couldn't say thank you because I didn't feel good about myself.
Yeah, isn't that strange? It was a Canadian friend that said to me, very British answer when oh, you look nice, and I'd say, oh, I've had this for blah blah
Mm,
blah years. I've had this old thing, right?
hmm.
And they just said, just say thank you.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
I said, and I was like, oh, wow, I'd never heard anybody say that before. And I'm like, that's that's great. Yes, I'll do
Yeah.
that. But it is one of the tools that I teach as well, a simple tool. And it's very uncomfortable at first. And that's to really look at yourself in the mirror in the morning.
Hmm.
Take your glasses off or whatever, but when you're brushing your teeth and just go, you're amazing.
Mm.
Well, you're doing a great job. So proud of you. And look yourself in the eyes. And at day one, it's like, it's really uncomfortable. But when you get used to that, that's where the self-confidence, self-respect comes from, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I would say 10 years ago, I did not believe in positive affirmations. I didn't think they worked. Well, I never really researched them, but I'm like, I'm not going to go talk to myself in front of the mirror. I talk to myself every day in front of the mirror now, and I talk to myself every day everywhere. It doesn't matter if there's a mirror or not, reminding me of what I'm capable of, right? That whole idea of when we look in the mirror and the first thing we see is, oh, I don't like that, right? You have to start a different way, right? It really is about saying whatever your affirmations are. I like saying them in first person. So I am beautiful. I am smart. I am capable. I am going to have an amazing day. How do you think your brain feels when you do that versus saying, well, today's going to suck, right? Oh my God, your wrinkles look horrible. Like, which way would you like to start your day, right? You have a choice. You have a choice every day. Yes, there are external factors when something happens, but still, you have a choice of how you respond. So, when you get up in the morning, go in there and tell yourself that you're beautiful and you'll see how different you feel. And not just about the beauty, but whatever affirmations you need to move you forward. You'll see how different you feel because it really works. And there's lots of science behind it.
Yeah, exactly. The science is now
Yeah.
caught up with that, right? So that's
Yes.
great. But that must be really good now for your daughter. Must have had a big impact on her now. When she said you've got to stop
Mm.
because I don't feel good about my body. What are you teaching me? Stop doing that, right? So
Yes.
now you've got these affirmations in place, and now you work with her. You've got this podcast, this unshakable confidence. So what's the most surprising thing that you've learned by doing the podcast with your daughter?
Mm. We've learned a lot of things. I think the thing that I was most impressed by, which I didn't realize that would be a result of this podcast, is really how much that's helped her build confidence, right? I mean, that was the goal of it, but So she's a second year law student. And one of the things they do in law school is they randomly call on you. You have to stand up in front of the class and present, right? So you have to know, you have to prepare, right? And so she said a few of the students said, every time they call on you, you always seem so confident. What can you tell me your trick? And she goes, oh, I have a podcast with my mom. I have to think on my feet all the time, right? Because you don't know where a story is going to go, and you have to, you're prepared with certain things, but you have to be flexible and be able to say, yes, this is where I'm going next, instead of freezing. And so I think that's been a really great benefit, and surprising too, because I didn't think about it like that. The goal of naming it Her Unshakable Confidence was to get her there quicker than I did, right? But understanding all of the different things and learning about our guests, I think that is one of the best things. We've met so many amazing women. We actually have our first guy coming on Friday. We're like, okay, we're expanding a little bit,
Right.
but really hearing people's stories, like how they've gone through life, what they think confidence is, how they feel about themselves, I think has been really powerful for us to really see and experience.
I think I'd agree with you, Simone. The women that I've interviewed, there are so many underlying stories,
Mm.
all women from different industries, different ages, different experience, but they've got underlying stories that connect that are the same, right? Have you found that too? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing that I found that was really interesting is, so one of the questions we ask all of our guests is, what does confidence mean to you? We have never gotten the same answer twice in 100 interviews, which is so interesting for me, because what that means to me is that it is unique to everybody how they feel about themselves, obviously. And but learning some of these people's stories and how they're able to talk about things. We had a woman who, her son was electrocuted in their pool, and she wasn't, it was such a horrible story. Like the light for the pool, there was a short in the light for the pool. And so when he jumped in, he was instantly electrocuted. They could barely pull his body out because he was like electrified, right? You got shocked every time you tried to touch him. And the mom wasn't there. The babysitter was there. It was such a horrible, tragic story. But what she did with her life after that, like, she has another child, but also the foundation she created. She works as a medium now. Like, there's so many interesting things that when you hear people move out of a tragedy, what they can create with their life is just so powerful.
Yeah, that's really sad. But there are some of these spiritual turning points, I call them, and big trauma points that really, where women totally pivot their life and they go into what they're meant to do.
Mm, yeah.
Sometimes, these tragedies and this trauma happens so that the universe kind of says, well, this is you're jogging along, but we really want you to do something big here. And so sometimes it comes with that trauma point, which is horrible. But it is, but they do. Some of them become from the victim, they become the victor, and they make something and they tell their story. And is that how you found with your guests? Is that
Yeah. Because when they use a trauma that they've gone through or a tragedy, and then they inspire other people to help them realize what they're capable of, how you can move forward after something that's tragic or I mean, even for me, when I talk openly about the abusive boyfriend that I had in high school, because what I've realized is that it helps other women realize that they're not alone. And so often I'll share that story, and even if it's on stage, and a woman will come up and she'll say, oh, I went through something very similar, or my daughter went through something very similar. Thank you so much for talking so openly about it. And right, because you can, I mean, that if I can look back at my life and say, oh yeah, if that wouldn't have happened. But I don't like to do that. I feel like everything that's happened in my life has brought me to this exact moment in time. And so if you get rid of even the hardest parts of my life, then I wouldn't be who I am today. So I don't look back. I look forward.
Yeah, I
And
totally.
I enjoy the present.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, my mum is also 86, the
Yeah.
same age as your mum. And she said the same because I talk about I was bullied all the way through high school. But then she said, well, if that hadn't have happened, you probably would have not gone traveling and not tried to find yourself
Mm,
and not, gone to find the confidence and everything else. So everything happens for a reason. And we just, you take the experience and you try and turn it around into something positive. You don't look back,
mm.
but you keep moving forward. But it is part of your story. Is what has molded you,
Yeah,
shaped you, right?
absolutely. I mean, all of the things in my life, having six children. I ever plan on having six children? No,
Did
not
you?
until we did. I mean, we adopted our youngest three, so we were thinking, two or three kids, and then we adopted our son Noah, and we said, "This is amazing and complete chaos. Let's do it again. This is amazing and complete chaos. Let's do it one more time." And that's how we got to a family of six. And I wouldn't
Yes.
ever go back and change that. But did I ever see my life? Did I ever see that I would be a keynote speaker or writing books? I mean, when I was in fifth grade, my English teacher told me that I sucked at writing, right? And that stuck with me for a really long time. I was good at math, so I did accounting. But what do I love? I love storytelling and I love writing now. So completely different path than I would have ever thought I would have been on. And that's what we need to do is embrace what comes next instead of being worried about, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Give yourself permission.
And well done you for adopting because I am adopted too. So,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I had a lovely family. So and it's a beautiful that's a beautiful story, and that's part of my story, and also part of yours, having adopted children. So, in your opinion, how does a woman start right now? What's the first small step she can take today to align with, you know, joy, purpose, building real confidence?
Yeah, I think the first step is awareness, right? Notice how you're talking to yourself. When you wake up in the mirror, do exactly what you said. Look at yourself in the eye, and it might be hard. It might be really hard at first. And when it's hard, that's when you know that you need to be doing it, right? If it's just so easy, then okay, you're already doing it, right? But it's tomorrow morning, wake up, look in the mirror, and tell yourself what you're capable of, even if it's something very small, right? Something positive that's going to happen today, because it will change how you do things, how you move throughout your day.
True. Very good. And another great answer. It's just very similar, you see. This is what I love about my guests because I would give exactly the same answer.
Yeah.
And I think it's just wonderful that we're all aligned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you find this on your podcast as well, that the stories you hear and the answers that you get, even though they're all um a little different, they're all aligned. How do you get to confidence? They all take the same different paths, but they all get there.
Yeah. And, the same thing too when you talk about when we feel like we're alone in our struggles. No, no, everybody struggles with something. I've told this story before, but I need to look up the name of the guy who talks about this. But basically, he worked in corporate America. He quit his job and he decided what he wanted to do was have 10,000 coffee shop conversations. He wanted to meet 10,000 different people and really understand their lives and the choices they make. And the one thing that he came away from over all of those conversations was that nobody has it figured out. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all trying to get by. We're all doing our best. And so we can't look at other people and say, oh my gosh, they have it all together. No, they don't. So stop worrying about that.
Nobody's got it all together.
Nope. Nope. Even if
No.
they look like they do, they're faking it. Yes.
Yeah, the perfect social media picture.
Yes.
Look at
Oh,
my life,
yes.
isn't it perfect? Probably not.
No, exactly. If you have to post the perfect pictures, then
Definitely.
post the pictures where you look like crap. I mean, that's real life, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's You
Yeah,
know,
that's why
some of my videos, I'm in my PJs, right? I mean, like that's how it should be.
right, that's authentic and real, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. And that's what we need to be. We need to get real.
Yes. So if you could give yourself one piece of advice to your younger self,
Mm.
Simone, what would it be?
Okay. Unfortunately, I wouldn't because I wouldn't go back. But if I could, if I had to go back, I would tell her, like, yeah, this is hard, but you're going to be able to move forward. And don't worry about what anybody else thinks. I think that's the biggest thing because I think I lived so much of my younger life worrying about what everybody else was thinking instead of really taking care of me, which who knows what I'd be doing differently. So can't look back, but take care of
So
yourself, right?
very, very good. So I've got two closing questions I ask all my guests, and one of them is similar, actually. If you could leave our listener with one final powerful piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I already said it, but I'm going to say
Yeah,
it again. You don't need to change who you are. You need to change the way you see yourself, right? I mean, our world is so focused on changing everything about us. You're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not wealthy enough. Let's change the way we see ourselves instead and see how much better our life will be. I'm not saying don't go and do things, but I'm saying stop worrying and really saying, "Oh yeah, I'm amazing. I'm amazing."
great. And where can our listeners find out more about you and the incredible work that you do in your new book?
Yes, thank you. So you can find me at my website, SimoneKnego.com, which is SIMONEKNEGO. You can find my new book at realconfidencebook.com. It's available for pre-order and it comes out February 17th. And you can find me all over social media. So Simone Knego. If you look for me, you will find me. I'm the only Simone Knego in the world. So benefit of marrying someone that has a difficult last name, it kind of works. And then the podcast that I host with my 22-year-old daughter, her unshakable confidence. We're on, all the podcast platforms and also on YouTube. So come check us out.
Fantastic. A million thanks to Simone for joining me today. Thanks to our audience for hanging out with us. We hope you found it inspiring and empowering. And to find out more about myself or Simone, you'll find all the details below. So until next time, this is Beth, the Passionate Pioneer, and Simone signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, another powerful Passionista conversation. I hope that this guest's journey, experience, and story has inspired something deep within you. Remember, it's about following the joy moments in your life. It's a beautiful dance with the universe. If you would like to dive deeper into your joy journey with me, you will find all the links below this video, including a link to a free workbook that will help you to start your joy journey. And until next time, Passionista, I'll say goodbye. Much love and joy.